Somewhere along the road to awakening, we were sold a story, a beautiful airbrushed lie. A lie that whispered if we were truly spiritual, we'd never feel angry, we'd never cry, doubt, react, or fall apart. We'd speak softly, walk slowly, smile peacefully, and forgive instantly. We'd rise above all emotions and become untouchable to pain. But let's get real. That's not spirituality. That's spiritual performance, and it's time to let it go. There's an image floating around, maybe you've seen it or even tried to become it. The person who drinks green juice, meditates for 2 hours a day, never gets triggered, speaks in poetic affirmations, and lives on some mountain of peace while the rest of the world burns. We begin to believe that enlightenment means becoming emotionally numb. We think that if we're still getting upset, sad, or overwhelmed, then we must be failing on our spiritual path. But awakening isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real. And real includes the messy. Real includes emotion. And real includes being human. That's why we're here. We are having a human experience. Being spiritual doesn't erase your humanity. It invites you into it more deeply. You feel more, not less. You love more intensely. You sense truth more clearly. You cry harder. You grieve deeper. You become more sensitive, not less. But in that sensitivity, you also grow wiser. You begin to feel the sacred in the ordinary. You notice your patterns, but you don't punish yourself for them. You pause more, but you still stumble. Your evolution doesn't require emotional sterilization. It asks for presence, not perfection. Ever been told things like, you shouldn't be angry at that slow vibration? Don't feel sad, just raise your frequency. You must have attracted that pain because you weren't aligned. That's not healing, that's bypassing. You need to stop labeling certain emotions as unspiritual. Anger, grief, confusion, heartbreak. They aren't signs of failure. They're proof that your soul is alive inside your human experience, and they often hold the doorway to your next breakthrough. True spirituality says, feel it, all of it. Then choose with consciousness. That's the power. That's awareness. That's what it means to be awake. You're going to yell sometimes. You're going to shut down and not want to meditate. You'll eat the pizza instead of making the smoothie. Say the wrong thing, cancel the appointment, avoid the shadow work, and scroll instead of journal. Guess what? That doesn't make you less spiritual. That makes you human. And the most sacred thing you can do in that moment isn't to shame yourself. It's to stay present with yourself. Because the lie of perfection wants you to reject who you are unless you're performing holiness. But the truth of awakening says, hold who you are, especially when it's not pretty, especially when you don't like it, especially when it's uncomfortable. That's real transformation. That's unconditional love. Let's deconstruct another myth, the obsession with high vibration. Yes, our frequency does matter. Yes, cultivating joy, gratitude, and peace is powerful. But the spiritual path isn't about bypassing reality to stay positive. It's about being grounded in truth, even if that truth is messy, painful, or uncomfortable. Sometimes your vibration is in the trenches. Sometimes you're grieving, recalibrating, or exhausted. That's okay. You're not failing. You're rebalancing. Being spiritual doesn't mean you always feel good. It means you don't abandon yourself when you feel bad. It means you create space for all of you, not just the light, but the shadow too. Your soul doesn't flinch when you cry. God doesn't reject you when you scream. Your higher self doesn't leave when you lose your temper. They're all still here, holding you through it. So maybe you can try holding yourself too. In many spiritual circles, we hear, kill the ego or transcend the ego. But ego isn't something to destroy. It's something to integrate. Your ego is the part of you that's afraid, insecure, controlling, protective, but also the part that keeps you alive, sets boundaries, and gives you identity. It's not evil, it's not wrong, it's simply unfinished. The spiritual journey isn't about rejecting the ego, it's about loving it into maturity. You're not supposed to amputate your ego, you're supposed to sit with it, listen to it, and teach it how to trust again. That's the deeper work. Not bypassing your ego, but befriending it. Now, I want to ask you, what if your anxiety isn't blocking your growth, but guiding it? What if your anger is pointing you to where your voice was silenced? What if your tears are cleansing lifetimes of held pain? You're not failing by being human. You're learning to live as the soul inside a tender, feeling body. Awakening doesn't ask you to leave behind your humanity. It asks you to reclaim it fully, boldly, softly, with presence and grace. So here's the heart of the journey. Can you love the part of you that lashes out? Can you stay kind to the version of you that's exhausted and bitter? Can you hold the inner child who feels unworthy even after all this spiritual work? Because the lie of perfection says you should be over it by now. But the truth of awakening says you're exactly where you need to be, even in the breakdown. Healing isn't a straight line. Growth isn't linear. Awakening isn't always gentle, but your presence in the process, your willingness to stay, that's what creates change. Not perfection, but presence. Let this be a space where your tears are holy, where your mess has meaning, where you don't need to fake calm to be considered conscious, where you can say, I'm spiritual and I'm struggling. I believe in the divine and I'm pissed off. I meditate and I still forget who I am sometimes. Let that be okay, because that's where your humanity becomes the bridge, not the barrier, to your divinity. The moment we create a ladder of who's more awakened, we've lost the plot. You're not more spiritual because you own crystals or know your natal chart by heart. You're not more enlightened because you don't watch TV or eat raw food. You're not above anyone because you can chant in Sanskrit or quote Ram Dass. That's performance, not presence. And the spiritual path isn't a competition. It's a coming home. We're all students here. We're all remembering. We're all stumbling forward with moments of grace and grit. So let's stop pretending and start connecting with each other and with the parts of ourselves we were taught to hide. You are not less divine because you cry. You are not less powerful because you doubt. You are not less worthy because you sometimes fall apart. You are walking a sacred path in a very human skin, and that skin is not a curse. It's the very ground upon which your soul gets to dance. Your realness is your radiance. Your honesty is your liberation. Your tenderness is your strength. So take off the costume. Burn the script. Step out of the perfect spiritual being role and let yourself be fully here, raw, real, and radiantly imperfect. Awakening isn't just about third eye openings and angel numbers. It's about cleaning up after a breakdown, apologizing when you react, sitting in silence when no answers come, saying, I don't know, and meaning it. It's about softening, surrendering, showing up again and again when nothing makes sense. The lie of spiritual perfection says you'll arrive at some state where nothing bothers you anymore. The truth, you awaken and you still feel everything, but now you respond instead of react. You witness instead of collapse, and you stay instead of run. And when you don't, you forgive, you breathe, you begin again. That's what it means to be human and holy. That's what it means to be fully alive. So don't aim to be perfect. Aim to be present, because that's where the real magic is.